His Divine Grace. Material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. When the eternal living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes.
The living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because living entities have different kinds of bodies, in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So somehow or other we become conditioned. We can't trace it out materially exactly because it's beyond history, you can say. But we can understand that we have independence and our relationship with God is based on love. So if we choose to put ourselves in the center, then we come to the material world. Similarly, if we choose to put God in the center, we can go back to the spiritual world. It's our choice based on our desire. Most people want to get some advantage here in the material world, and they have no interest to put God in the center. They want to put themselves in the center. So they have to remain here in the material world, influenced by these modes of material nature. But as Prabhupada points out in the purport, actually we have nothing to do with this material nature, because we, the soul, are eternal. Let's read the next verse. It describes how one becomes conditioned, even in the mode of goodness. Tacha Satvam Nimiladvat Pakashakam Anamayam Sukha Sangena Vadnati Dhyana Sangena Shanagaha. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge.
The living entities conditioned by material nature are of various types. One is happy, another is very active, and another is helpless. All these types.
Let's stop for a second. So we see that practically different class of people are there, and their always attempt is to somehow mitigate that suffering condition by various welfare works and so on. But actually, nobody will be fully successful in this attempt because the material nature is arranged in such a way that it always causes some problem. The idea is that God wants us to come back to the spiritual world, so He doesn't make the material world such a comfortable place. Just like the government doesn't make the prison house very comfortable, because otherwise all the citizens may just go there and give up. So the prison house, there's some form of punishment is there. So material nature, there's also some kind of punishment. Old age, disease, death. You'll have to accept that. This is arrangement of the Lord so that we'll take impetus from this suffering condition and again turn to Him. Again, He doesn't force us, but He's showing us that if we want to be independent of Him, it's just going to bring trouble. Because this is not our normal position. It's like the hand, if it wants to eat the food, how is it possible? Doesn't have the ability to digest the food, to chew the food. It has to cooperate with the whole body. Then it brings the food to the mouth. Then it gets whatever nourishment it needs. But similarly, God is the enjoyer. He's meant to be in the center. If we work for His pleasure, then we'll also enjoy. But we don't like that idea. Why should I put God in the center? I want to put myself in the center. Therefore, there's so much suffering in this world. And there's so many attempts to stop the suffering, but it's impossible. It's impossible. But we see so much money is expended and so many intelligent plans are made to bring about the happiness for the human race, but we read every day how much there's more suffering on this side, that side. So best thing is to accept what suffering is coming, just like we have to accept what happiness is coming. Happiness and suffering are coming according to our destiny, according to our karma. So we should tolerate them and go on with our real business of pleasing the Lord so that we can enter into His abode again. And that we can do even in this life. It's not some pie in the sky. If you die, you're going to go to heaven. But no, even while in the material world, one can become transcendental to it and enjoy nectar at every moment. That's also described in this chapter. Go ahead, Purple.
All these types of psychological manifestations are causes of the entity's conditioned status in nature. How very differently conditioned is explained in this section of Bhagavad-Gita. The mode of goodness is first considered. The effect of developing the mode of goodness in the material world is that one becomes wiser than those otherwise conditioned. A man in the mode of goodness is not so much affected by material miseries, and he has a sense of advancement in material knowledge. The representative type is the Brahmana, who is supposed to be situated in the mode of goodness. This sense of happiness is due to understanding that, in the mode of goodness, one is more or less free from sinful reactions. Actually, in the Vedic literature, it is said that the mode of goodness means greater knowledge and a greater sense of happiness. The difficulty here is that when a living entity is situated in the mode of goodness, he becomes conditioned to feel that he is advanced in knowledge and is better than others. In this way, he becomes conditioned. The best examples are the scientist and the philosopher. Each is very proud of his knowledge, and because they generally improve their living conditions, they feel a sort of material happiness. The sense of advanced happiness in conditioned life makes them bound by the mode of goodness of material nature. As such, they are attracted toward working in the mode of goodness, and as long as they have an attraction for working in that way, they have to make some type of body. They have to take some type of body in the modes of nature. Thus, there is no likelihood of liberation or of being transferred to the spiritual world. Repeatedly, one may become a philosopher, a scientist, or a poet, and repeatedly become entangled in the same disadvantages of birth and death. But due to the illusion of the material energy, one thinks that that sort of life is pleasant.
So if we don't have some higher taste or some higher information, actually we're going to try to make the best of a bad bargain and try to enjoy this life to much as we can with our senses. But Krishna is offering another platform of existence. Because Arjuna is having the same dilemma. He doesn't want to fight, but he doesn't see, because he doesn't see how fighting will solve any problem, and so he just becomes bewildered, and he turns to Krishna. So Krishna's solution is very simple. Instead of working in the mode of goodness, most people think, well, that's the goal of life is to work to become a good person. But he's saying, no, above mode of goodness is to work for me. Then you don't get any material reaction. In Sanskrit, there's 3 words. Vikarma means sinful activities. Karma means good activities. Akarma means activities that don't accrue any material result. So this is the advice that Krishna is giving. Not that we can stop working. We have to work. But work in the spirit of devotion for pleasing the Lord. It's not very difficult because Krishna is easily pleased. Just by chanting His name, as we've been doing. It's not very difficult. It doesn't require some expenditure, some previous qualification, but by chanting and dancing, the Lord is pleased with us. And that activity doesn't give us any more karma, either good or bad. So that gradually we go on with this devotional activities, we'll get a spiritual body so we can more intimately serve the Lord. This is the goal. Could you please turn up your cell phone? So why not try it? It's not a very difficult thing. Krishna says, if you offer me and leave a leaf, in love, a leaf, a flower, water. So everybody can keep a picture of Krishna in their house, have a little altar. Before eating, you can offer the food to him, bow down to him. Manmana bhava madbhakta. He says, bow down, offer your obeisance. And then with devotion, offer your food to him. Try in some way to assist those who are more intimately serving him, just like we're trying to assist our spiritual master, his divine grace. You see Bhagavad-Gita, Swami Prabhupada, his birthday is here. Because he was fully surrendered to the Lord. We observed that. After some period of testing, we became convinced that he had no other interest except to please the Lord and his spiritual master. So by serving such a person, then it's even more, you can say, pleasing to the Lord than if we try to please the Lord directly. In the Adi Purana, Krishna said, someone who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee, but one who is the devotee of my devotee, he is my devotee. So this is the same principle in Christianity. But unfortunately, the Christians have made Christ God. But actually, he was saying, if you want to know me, God, you have to know me. He was the representative. He was the spiritual master. So this is the method. You want to know God, you have to approach somebody who knows God. And you inquire from him. Render service to him. Please him. Then he'll give you the knowledge. He'll give you the mercy. This is the principle. We can't claim that we can directly approach God. Of course, people do claim that. But God reserves the right of revealing himself to those who are who fully please him. So the example is given, just like a rich man, if he has everything, what can we do to please him? But if we please his child, then the rich man may be more readily pleased with us. So something like that. Because the Lord is very much inclined to his devotee. He's trying to please him. It's a transcendental reciprocation or competition. Who can please the other the most? So God is not a cold stone or impersonal. He has his feelings. He has his loving feelings. So he loves his devotee, like Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, if we help him serve his devotee, then he's more quickly will recognize us, will appreciate us, because we're taking up his work. His work is to try to please his devotee. So, and to also to deliver others who are innocent. But that's what his devotee is doing. So we can assist him in that way by explaining to people the subject of Bhagavad-Gita. And then we'll see that they'll be also influenced. If we represent purely, we'll find that there is some potency we have, by the mercy of the spiritual master Krishna, to convince people to take up this process. So that, at the end of Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, no one is more dear to me than one who instructs the subject matter to the innocent people. So this is one way we can easily please the spiritual master, simply representing the message of Bhagavad-Gita. And then, again, when the Lord sees that we are sincere in our attempt to please his representative, then we'll begin to get the mercy more and more from him. What is the symptom of getting mercy from God? Anybody like to venture a guess? Please raise your hand.
You want to share it with others? You want to give it to others?
Yes. One of the symptoms? Yeah, I was thinking another.
That's when I was thinking, what would be?
The first symptom that you're getting mercy is that you lose your attraction for sinful activity. Lust and greed and anger. We're all being troubled by our bad habits, by our bad character. No one is born as a pure devotee. We see the children, they're very innocent, but we can see by watching their psychological movements and their actions that they're also not pure devotees. They love themselves more than others. This is natural here in the material world. Everyone loves himself the most. So, because we love ourselves the most, therefore we cheat. Therefore we're ready to hurt others for our advantage. So when we start to get the mercy of the Lord, then we'll see that we give up these bad habits. And of course that will lead us, not that we go away and isolate ourselves from society, but by becoming purer, giving up these bad habits by the mercy of the Lord, we'll have more compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So naturally we'll preach. So that brings us full circle. But the first symptom will be, you'll see, if you're sincere, that the things that have been troubling you, lust and greed and anger, whatever it is, everyone has their own demons that they have to fight. They'll become manageable. They'll become less and less hold they'll have on us. Otherwise, even a big man, just like the governor of New York, right? He was found going to the prostitute. But this is the condition. Even a big man, he's got some secret sinful activities going. But when we get the mercy of the Lord, then those things will become lessened. Not abruptly, but gradually we'll see that these things are distasteful. They don't really bring me happiness. Otherwise, without the mercy of the Lord, no one can come out of this conditioning. We're conditioned because of our misuse of independence. So unless we agree to abide by the sweet will of the Lord, then we're not going to get out of this conditioned state. We're going to be conditioned. Even mode of goodness, as we're reading, it may be a better position, but still the same disadvantages there, the same old age, disease, and death. So we want to get free from the cycle of birth and death, then we must become the devotee of the Lord, please the Lord in some way. This is not sectarian. We don't claim to have a monopoly on God. He's in everyone's heart. But the bottom line is, if God is not pleased, you're going to suffer. So why not learn this science, how to please the Lord? And again, as I'm mentioning, it's easy to please by pleasing the representative. So Srila Prabhupada has made it clear what's pleasing to him. He wants us to, first of all, save ourselves. That means we should give up illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, meat-eating. This may appear difficult, but if we chant Hare Krishna, which he advised us, then we'll see it becomes easier and easier. Okay? As far as chanting, we were talking, Dr. Blow and myself, about why don't we have, now especially the weather's not so hot, why don't we go out on Saturday and chant in the park? Maybe next Saturday we could invite you all to join with us. We'll go to there's a little park in Winter Park near the train station. It runs along, the shops are there. I think it's New York Avenue and Park Avenue, in between New York Avenue and Park Avenue. So we could meet there, say 1 o'clock. Is that a good time? Those who are free, Saturday. And we'll put out some cushions and sit down in the park and chant. Because it's nice to chant in public. People will be attracted. We can invite them to come and so on. Otherwise, people do come, just like our guest tonight. She was saying how she came after so many years. She had heard about us, and she decided why not come. Is that what you call me? What's her name? You told me her name. Marina. Did you say that you came after so long, because you thought it was favorable to come and visit the Hare Krishna temple? So some people will be inspired to come, but others will take that inspiration by seeing us. So this is a way we can all take part in the preaching mission by going out and chanting. So if you don't know where the park is, it's not very difficult, but you can come here and we'll all go together in a caravan. So this next Saturday, we'll leave here around, say 1 o'clock, we'll leave here, we should be there by 1:30. Okay, anybody have comments or questions on the discussion, philosophical?
I have a question slash comment. Could one say, from your point of view, that, for example, from your point of view, I mean, that practically you can see the mercy and advancement, or mercy in the form of advancement, in the action of pleasing the spiritual master? Because in pleasing the spiritual master, you're associating with all kinds of tasks and activities and pastimes that are pleasing to Krishna, and thus the mercy from Krishna building you into a more advanced devotee.
Yeah, that's right. In other words, it's imperceptible, but advancement comes when you see that you no longer have attraction for these things, and you have more compassion, and you take trouble to benefit others. Because it's a thankless task, preaching to people. Most people don't give a damn. They don't care. But if we take the trouble to approach them, to plead with them, my dear sir, you're very learned, very wise, but why not? Forget everything you know and just accept the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So when we take that risk of preaching, there'll always be resistance. People won't like it. Who are you to tell me? You think you know better than me? But if we take that trouble, and there'll be some obstacles, therefore Bhaktivinoda says, please Lord, help me overcome all my trials and troubles. There'll be trials. We can't think, oh, I'm a devotee now, there won't be problems. No. Especially when we're preaching, there's going to be opposite parties. Look what happened to Lord Jesus. Right, that's the course. So many examples of being persecuted. So if we take it seriously, then people will resist. But still, we should take it seriously. That way we'll get the mercy of the Lord, and innocent people will be benefited. Those who are demoniac, who are against God, they may not be benefited. I mean, they may oppose us, but even they, we can gradually avoid them, but still we shouldn't be afraid to preach this message. Okay, anyone else? That's a good comment.
Peter.
Srila Prabhupada says that we can only understand who is Krishna and what is Krishna consciousness if we are in mode of goodness. So if we meet people who are more in passion and ignorance, should we first of all try to inspire them somehow so they will become better in their qualities, meaning that they will be more in mode of goodness, and only then we can tell them about Krishna directly, or we should just preach anyway?
We should preach, because anybody who takes up this process of bhakti yoga, they'll come to the mode of goodness. One of the qualities of mode of goodness is we're acting out of duty. You say, oh, he's a good boy, he's taking care of his old mother. A good man. Why he's a good man? He doesn't have to take care of his old mother, but he's doing it. So he's good. So, in the same way, one is good transcendentally because he's taking care of others. He's preaching. That's the highest good. The highest good is the welfare where we get everybody a chance. And therefore, if they take it up, they can transcend the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, and come to the spiritual path. Like Arjuna, Krishna didn't preach to him you should become a good warrior. You should become. You should give up this work because this is passionate work. You should go to the forest, become a Brahmin. No, Krishna said, do your work, but do it in a spirit of devotion. So we're not trying to change people's quality, you can say, varna like that. We're just saying, whatever you are, act for the pleasure of the Lord, and then automatically all the good qualities will come. Okay, we'll stop here. Bhagavad-Gita ki.
Right.